Hello and welcome to today's session. Today we are going to talk about the new WinCC OA dashboard. We call it Web Component Dashboard and it will replace our old Angular dashboard. It is on the path to a fully web-based user interface. Let me share the agenda for today. Firstly, I will talk about the introduction and overview. I will share some insights about the new dashboard, architecture and technical insights. Afterwards, I will follow with the use cases and applications, so how you can use the new dashboard. Then we also provide some new features in 3.21, for example, high availability, a very nice feature. And afterwards, we close the session with the Web Component Dashboard live. So, I will start now to give some insights. As you might know, in previous times, we had the Angular dashboard. But here we considered some alternative frameworks. Why? For sure, Angular is one of the most popular frameworks for building web applications. But we got some feedback from users, so directly from our customers, from you, that Angular is not the best option. Firstly, we've heard that users said that Angular is not that beginner-friendly. It is very overwhelming. And that's why we said maybe we need to switch technology. Secondly, the old architecture was that you always build an own settings page. So you build a widget with an own settings page, which is a lot of effort. And now we've tried in the new architecture to improve this system. And another challenge was the limited extensibility in our previous Easy Dashboard. One of the next headlines would be the performance. We underestimated the overhead for custom widgets. The loading times were very high, and now we tried to increase the loading times. Also, one of the disadvantages in the Easy Dashboard was that a production build took very long, and Angular had a very bad, so for our situation, our SCADA system, a very bad release and support policy. A major version is only active for only 1.5 years. In industrial software, this is not a good release cycle. And what we also encountered was when you have a custom widget, so you created a custom widget for your own application, it was a strong coupling between the Angular version and your own widget. And all of these key points was the reason why we reconsidered our framework. And what we decided to do now is that we use web components. Web components, let's talk about it. This is a key technology that powers modern web applications. So what are exactly web components? They are simply a web standard that allows you to create standalone, reusable building blocks for your web application. These building blocks are encapsulated as HTML elements and are standalone. What's great about it is that they are based on the standard browser API, meaning they work consistently across all modern web browsers. What does this mean in practice? It means you can create a component once and reuse it in many different places. You don't need to worry about breaking the structure or your web application in general. You can even share these web components across different projects or also across your teams. What we did is that we said there are several libraries out there for creating web components, including, for example, Elements, Stencil or Solid.js and Lit. Each of these libraries has different strengths, but today I want to focus on Lit, because this is what we selected for our solution. Why Lit? We said it focuses on some key factors. And this was, for example, it has a very small footprint and less boilerplate. So Lit is very lightweight. This means it does not add unnecessary weight to your application. It also helps to reduce the amount of boilerplate code you need to write. Furthermore, it produces native web components. One of the standout features of Lit is that it produces native web components. And finally, one of the key reasons was that it has the most popular and huge community. Okay, so what is new in our new web component dashboard? Firstly, we've implemented the Siemens iX design. So we said we want to have a new look and feel based on this new design guide. We've tried to enhance the performance and the mobile views. So for example, the performance is way better. You will see it afterwards. And we've extended the mobile views. So now the dashboard scales a little bit better on mobile phones and tablets. And we've also improved the trend performance. So data is now loading way faster as previously. For the architecture, we have now the possibilities to decouple the UI elements and the data retrieval. Also this you will see on the next slides when I present to you the architecture. And one of the key features is that the settings page for each widget is now configured through a JSON file. Also this I will explain in the next slides. For the widget functionality, we have now a widget import and export so that you can use widgets on different projects. We have new widgets like the command widgets. So you can now have a button, input and switch directly in your dashboard. What we also have now is a hyperlink and image widget, and we've imported the KPI list widget from Siemens iX design. The future is also already set. We want to deliver to you a WD key. This is our so-called widget development kit. With this widget development kit, we want to provide to you a very easy way how you can create widgets. We want that you can extend on application level the full dashboard. And we will also deliver some dashboard enhancements. All of this topic, I will now go a little bit more into detail on the next slides. So now we can have a look on the architecture of this new web component dashboard. Everything starts as usual with our WinCC OA backend. Here is nothing new. This is as in the previous Angular dashboard. We still have the data access through a WebSocket server, and in this WebSocket server, the usual methods like a dbget is implemented. Let's have a look on the browser side. Here, the new architecture comes in mind. Let's get started with the UI element. The UI element is a standalone component that only is usable for displaying the values and allows interactions. No more logic is in this UI element. Afterwards, every WebSocket server is connected to a shared worker. This shared worker is a standard browser functionality, which is handling, for example, the authentication and so on. And what is now in between the shared worker and the UI element? It's a new component. We call it context component. And this retrieves the data from the backend. So this component is only intended to retrieve the data. Earlier in the Angular dashboard, the UI element and the context component was together. And that is the reason why it was very hard to create own widget, because you have to take a lot of time to develop these two components. Now we split it up into the context component and the UI element. And the context component is the encapsulation of the data retrieval. This means it is now easier for a user to only focus on what should be shown in the UI element. And he does not need to focus on how he gets the data, because this takes over the context component. So a user interacts with the dashboard typically via settings page. For example, you want to set in a trend which data point should be shown. This is done via settings page. And we also split it up this now. So we have a context component, the UI element, which only shows the data, and the settings page. And interesting in our new architecture is that the settings page, for example, is generated automatically through a JSON file. So in this JSON file, you define what should be shown in the settings page. For example, data point, you want the icon selector, a color selector, for example, and then the page is automatically generated without any need to implement something new. And the JSON file is also handled via the UI element. So you can also use this benefit in the UI element. And now in the future, it will be possible that you can override the UI element, the context component, the settings page, and the WebSocket server. So we really tried that you can extend a lot of this new web component dashboard in a very easy way. This all will come in the future. Let's share some use cases and applications. We have now in the new dashboard a standard library with ready-to-use widget. Please have a look on this slide here. For example, we have standard charting functionality like a bar chart, a line chart, pie chart, and so on and so on. When you have text, you can use the KPI list or the label. And in the future, we will also have a Gantt chart again, like in the Angular dashboard. If you want to show an image or something similar, you can use of the media standard library, hyperlink, and image widgets. If you want to set data to WinCC OA, please use the command widgets like button, input, switch, or setPoint. If you want to have a widget that is connected to WinCC OA, let's call it like this, for example, alarm view, UX, the video OA feature, or later on we will also have dashboard in a dashboard. And if you want to use some external web interface, then please use the web widgets like HTML or iframe. These all come now in a standard library with the new dashboard. In the dashboard, we've implemented a free-form layout. This means you simply place your widgets into this canvas. You can place it everywhere where you want to have it, and you can minimize and maximize as much as you want. Later on, also here we have already ideas. We want to have some sort of flow layout. So you just say, okay, I have these 3 widgets, and now please, everything should be done automatically. And maybe there will come some more layouts. The engineering of dashboards is now easier than ever before. You have the possibility to edit, copy, cut, and paste widgets, or directly import and export widgets. And what is also possible is that you copy the size and apply the size to new widgets. This is a very nice feature when you want to have a structured dashboard. Then you want to have widgets in the same size, and now it's easy with this functionality. I want to go a little bit more into detail for the command widgets, because this is one of the new key features in the new dashboard. And if you want to set values directly from the dashboard to the OA backend, you can now use the command widgets. The button is a very powerful widget. You can trigger actions with it. For example, you could acknowledge alarms. With a toggle button, with our switch widget, you can, for example, switch on systems, on, off, enable, disable a feature, or similar. The input is a standard input widget based on HTML, and it lets you enter numerical values or also texts. And finally, we wanted to build an integrated widget that is called setPoint widget. With this, you can control variables in the backend. You can directly set constants or whatever you want to set with this setPoint widget. You can see everything here on the slide. The new dashboard. In the old one, it was very hard to engineer dashboards because you had to set everything from scratch. Now you can use import-export of your finished dashboard to upload it to a new project or something similar. We've also integrated some new features like the full screen mode. Let's imagine you have a trend. It is very small on your screen, and maybe you want to show it on the full screen, so you just activate this feature on the widget level, and then you can see the full widget on the full screen. Also, we've now integrated some seamless viewing and navigation like links. So from the dashboard, you can enter external links or also link to internal dashboards. And also here is another idea what we want to provide in the future, dollar parameters, as we have in Qt already, because then you can get use of mass engineering. This is an idea which will also come in the next months. Let's have a look on the performance results of the new dashboard. You can now pause the video if you want. I will just explain it shortly to you what you see here. We have here a comparison between the web component dashboard, so the WCD. Here you can see it in the yellow color, and the easy dashboard in the green color. And what you see here is the loading times in milliseconds per widgets. And you immediately will see the yellow one, the web component dashboard, the new dashboard, is much faster compared to our easy dashboard. If you want to have a closer look, just pause the video. We can also look on the memory usage. Compared to the easy dashboard, this is much better. You can also pause now the video to check out the chart in detail. And finally, we can have a look on the CPU usage. Here again, you can see it in the yellow color and the green color. And what you will see is the CPU usage improved a lot compared to our Angular dashboard. Again, please pause the video if you want to have a detailed look. So let's show the web component dashboard live. Now you should be able to see my screen, and I opened already our new dashboard. I added a new dashboard which is called Web Component Dashboard Workshop. And here you can see now you have a free canvas where you can place your widgets. Simply go into the edit mode, and on the right side you can see now our standard library with all widgets that we have. For example, you want to include a bar chart. Then simply put it on the canvas and our settings page is opened. Please note, this settings page, as I described in the architecture, is generated through a JSON file. And on the right side, you can see a preview of the widget. So now in the content section, we can simply add data. And I want to add here a data point. And then I immediately see on the right side the widget. On the bar chart, maybe I want to have a second data point, so I will add simply here a new data point and we'll pick again some of our example data points, and this is how the widget looks. You could also set now a new title if you want. You head to the widget appearance section and then you could set here a heading. You could also set a background color and a border color. On my dashboards, I prefer to make it transparent because they look the best, I think. But I always set a border color. So I will open here our color selector. I would see here the theme colors, and I could set a custom color. The theme colors are based on Siemens iX design guide, and I will pick here a gray border color. I could also use one of our features, for example, the full screen button. I simply activate it here, and I would say the widget is already done, and I can save it now. So now I go back in edit mode, and I will place it wherever you want to have it. For example, here on the left top, I save it, and this is how it looks. And you can already see there is a full screen button, and you see it works. So now I go back into the edit mode, and we can have a look on another widget. For example, the KPI list widget. This widget is really good if you want to show more data points as some texts, but you will see it now. Again, the content sections opens. I will pick here one of my data points. Maybe this widget makes sense to show more than one data point type. So I will add to new series. Again, pick a data point, and also for the third series one. And this is how the widget looks. In this widget, you could also set now an icon. What you see here is we've integrated the iX icon set, but you could also have some project icons. In this case, I will set now something from here. And in the second case, I will set a project icon. This project icon is related to a SCADA icon. You could set here and overwrite your icon set. So I will take something in speed relation or something else. You can set whatever you want. This is how the widget would look like now. If I want to have this second series on the top, I also have some options to set it directly to the top. Okay. Our assumption is always that you set the data correctly in WinCC OA. Then it would show here in a perfect way. For example, you've set a unit. If you don't set it on the WinCC OA system itself, you could also override this section via the custom settings. And for example, on this series here, I want to set a new unit, for example, meter. If you want, you can also set it in as multi-language mode. And it is also not possible to set a custom color. Custom color, simply the color selector opens and you can set this widget. So let's don't forget to set the border color. And I simply save the widget now again. And this is already my dashboard for now. What else I can show to you is our very easy way to copy widgets. If you want to edit a widget, you can do it like this, to go into the edit mode. Or what I want to do now is to copy my widget. So I copy to the clipboard and I will paste it again and it's already here. Of course, I could also delete the widget. I could cut the widget. I could apply the size of some other widgets. For example, I want to have the KPI list widget and the bar chart widget is exactly the same size. So I would simply copy the widget and apply it. And then you would have the same size. Yeah, of course, we could go through now all of this widget, but it's nothing special. Every widget has the same sections. When we look at the bar chart, the widget appearance, here you can set header, footer, colors, and so on. The content section, where you set your data, and you always have some formatting settings. For example, in the bar chart, you could set a legend and so on. Good, I will skip now the other widgets because, as I said, they are quite the same. When you put now in some effort, you could create some nice dashboards, and I will show you something. I saved it in my favorites. For example, this production dashboard. It looks like this here. Here I have used a bar chart, a gauge, a pie chart, some sort of circle progress bar, and also you can see a trend here in the bottom. In this trend, it is also possible to scroll through the history. So, what else is possible? Of course, I can set to dark mode and other mode, and it would look like this. But to be honest, I prefer always the dark mode, and I keep it in this way. Finally, I want to share one of the last features in the dashboard. In 3.21, there will be a new feature, which we call high availability for our web component dashboard. Let me explain what this feature is about. So in the Angular dashboard, or in the old mechanism, whatever you call it, let's imagine you have a redundant system. You have a redo server A and B. A would be active in this scenario, and you have a connected browser to this redo system. This browser is now connected via HTTP and a WebSocket, and it shows the dashboard. Let's imagine our server A is going down for whatever reason, and B gets active. In this situation, the WebSocket automatically switches to the new partner without any influence on the client side, so on the browser. But in this old way, the HTTP connection still is connected to server A. This means PC A needs a manual page refresh to reload the dashboard when he wants to request new HTTP resources, like a new widget or something. So after the reload, now you're connected to server B, again with HTTP and WebSocket. So in this old way, you always needed to reload the page. And this does not provide a seamless navigation in the dashboard. In this high availability, we've implemented now a so-called service worker. This service worker is a web-based component, a standardized web-based component. And now this part takes care of the HTTP connection. So let's imagine again, server A is going down. B is getting active. The WebSocket again automatically switches to the server. And now in this new way, the service worker takes care of that also the HTTP connection switches to server B. This means now for the client side on the browser, you have a seamless reconnect without any doing of a page refresh. Let's compare these two ways. In this old way, you needed to do a page refresh which is not very good from user point of view. And in this new way, everything is running automatically in the same way as before. And what do we want to do also in the future is to deliver to you this widget development kit. Just some headlines that you know what to expect from the widget development kit. We want that you can create in an easy way these UI elements, which are presented to you in the architecture. You can extend the front-end logic, create new context components or form inputs. You can also extend the backend logic in the future. For example, you can create new endpoints. And finally, you can develop your app, include it in the build process, and so on. I hope you enjoyed this session about the new Web Component Dashboard. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on YouTube and LinkedIn.